Capture the objectives. Our spy plane's in the air. Cobra standing by. The enemy has taken our flag. Enemy mortars incoming. Enemy flag acquired. They returned their flag. We dropped their flag. The enemy has taken our flag. They've captured our flag. Enemy Cobra approaching. Enemy mortar team spotted. Take cover. Hostile RCXD spotted. Hostile RCXD spotted in your area. Our spy plane's in the air. They returned their flag. Cobra on the way. We dropped their flag. Enemy flag acquired. We've captured the enemy flag. We dropped their flag. They returned their flag. We have the enemy flag. Friendly spy plane inbound. Cobra ready for deployment. Cobra standing by. Enemy sentry gun inbound. This son of a bitch isn't fit for the mission. Get him out of here. They returned their flag. Friendly care package inbound. Cobra standing by. Hostile RCXD spotted. Cobra ready for deployment. They've captured our flag. Enemy mortars incoming. Huey on the way. Cobra standing by. Our flag has been returned. We lost that round, but it's not over yet. Get ready for the next one. Hardcore capture the flag. Enemy spy plane above. Enemy spy plane above. They have our flag. Enemy care package incoming. Son of a bitch isn't fit for the mission. Get him out of here. Friendly spy plane inbound. Hostile RCXD spotted in your area. Our flag has been returned. The enemy has taken our flag. Our flag has been returned. Friendly spy plane inbound. Cobra standing by. Enemy spy plane above. Our spy plane's in the air. That son of a bitch isn't fit for the mission. Get him out of here! That son of a bitch isn't fit for the mission. Get him out of here! Hind on the way. Friendly Huey inbound. We dropped their flag. Enemy flag returned. We have the enemy flag. Our spy plane's in the air. Enemy flag captured. Enemy flag acquired. Enemy flag acquired. Enemy flag captured. They dropped our flag. Our spy plane's in the air. Enemy spy plane incoming. Our flag has been dropped. Enemy flag dropped. Enemy flag acquired. They have our flag. Our flag has been returned. They returned their flag. That son of a bitch isn't fit for the mission. Get him out of here. 1 minute to 0 time. Enemy flag acquired. Enemy flag returned. Overtime. Hardcore capture the flag. Friendly spy plane inbound. Heads up, enemy RCXD spotted. Enemy sentry gun incoming.
It was the way he had learned. Gee! Thornton's voice rang out, sharp in the tense silence. Buck swung to the right, ending the movement in a plunge that took up the slack and with a sudden jerk arrested his 150 pounds. The load quivered, and from under the runners arose a crisp crackling. Ha! Thornton commanded. Buck duplicated the maneuver, this time to the left. The crackling turned into a snapping, the sled pivoting and the runners slipping and grating several inches to the side. The sled was broken out. Men were holding their breaths, intensely unconscious of the fact. Now, mush! Thornton's command cracked out like a pistol shot. Buck threw himself forward, tightening the traces with a jarring lunge. His whole body was gathered compactly together in the tremendous effort, the muscles writhing and knotting like live things under the silky fur. His great chest was low to the ground, his head forward and down, while his feet were flying like mad, the claws scarring the hard-packed snow in parallel grooves. The sled swayed and trembled, half started forward. One of his feet slipped, and one man groaned aloud. Then the sled lurched ahead in what appeared a rapid succession of jerks, though it never really came to a dead stop again. Half an inch, 2 inches. The jerks perceptibly diminished. As the sled gained momentum, he caught them up, till it was moving steadily along. Men gasped and began to breathe again, unaware that for a moment they had ceased to breathe. Thornton was running behind, encouraging Buck with short, cheery words. The distance had been measured off, and as he neared the pile of firewood which marked the end of the 100 yards, a cheer began to grow and grow, which burst into a roar as he passed the firewood and halted at command. Every man was tearing himself loose, even Matthewson. Hats and mittens were flying in the air. Men were shaking hands, it did not matter with whom, and bubbling over in a general incoherent babble. But Thornton fell on his knees beside Buck. Head was against head, and he was shaking him back and forth. Those who hurried up heard him cursing Buck, and he cursed him long and fervently and softly and lovingly. "Gad, sir! Gad, sir!" spluttered the Skookum Bench King. "I'll give you 1,000 for him, sir! 1,000, sir! 1,200, sir!" Thornton rose to his feet. His eyes were wet. The tears were streaming frankly down his cheeks. "Sir," he said to the Skookum Bench King, "no, sir. You can go to hell, sir. It's the best I can do for you, sir." Buck seized Thornton's hand in his teeth. Thornton shook him back and forth. As though animated by a common impulse, the onlookers drew back to a respectful distance, nor were they again indiscreet enough to interrupt. Chapter 7. The Sounding of the Call. When Buck earned $1,600 in 5 minutes for John Thornton, he made it possible for his master to pay off certain debts and to journey with his partners into the East after a fabled lost mine, the history of which was as old as the history of the country. Many men had sought it, few had found it, and more than a few there were who had never returned from the quest. This lost mine was steeped in tragedy and shrouded in mystery. No one knew of the first man. The oldest tradition stopped before it got back to him. From the beginning, there had been an ancient and ramshackle cabin. Dying men had sworn to it, and to the mine the site of which it marked, clinching their testimony with nuggets that were unlike any known grade of gold in the Northland. But no living man had looted this treasure house, and the dead were dead. Wherefore John Thornton and Pete and Hans, with Buck and half a dozen other dogs, faced into the east on an unknown trail to achieve where men and dogs as good as themselves had failed. They sledded 70 miles up the Yukon, swung to the left into the Stewart River, past the Mayo and the McQuestion, and held on until the Stewart itself became a streamlet, threading the upstanding peaks which marked the backbone of the continent. John Thornton asked little of man or nature. He was unafraid of the wild. With a handful of salt and a rifle, he could plunge into the wilderness and fare wherever he pleased and as long as he pleased. Being in no haste, Indian fashion, he hunted his dinner in the course of the day's travel, and if he failed to find it, like the Indian, he kept on traveling, secure in the knowledge that sooner or later he would come to it. So on this great journey into the east, straight meat was the bill of fare. Ammunition and tools principally made up the load on the sled, and the time card was drawn upon the limitless future. To Buck, it was boundless delight, this hunting, fishing, and indefinite wandering through strange places. For weeks at a time, they would hold on steadily, day after day. And for weeks upon end, they would camp, here and there, the dogs loafing and the men burning holes through frozen muck and gravel and washing countless pans of dirt by the heat of the fire. Sometimes they went hungry, sometimes they feasted riotously, all according to the abundance of game and fortune of hunting. Summer arrived, and dogs and men, packed on their backs, rafted across blue mountain lakes, and descended or ascended unknown rivers in slender boats whipsawed from the standing forest. The months came and went, and back and forth they twisted through the uncharted vastness, where no men were, and yet where men had been if the lost cabin were true. They went across divided